Earth is home to many creatures. Some may even consider a few of them monsters. But what of those more elusive and hidden creatures? The ones we just can't seem to find. Welcome to Monday Morning Monsters. Cryptozoologist and paranormal researcher Barnaby Jones talks about the unknown, mythical, undiscovered, and unidentified creatures from around the world, and the people who have seen them, look for them, and research them. Hear from witnesses about their encounters, as well as renowned names in the field about their work and research. Barnaby is the founder and lead investigator for Cryptids, Anomalies, and the Paranormal Society based in Wisconsin. CAPS travels across Wisconsin and beyond looking for connections between different phenomena and how they can all be connected. Now, your host of Monday Morning Monsters, Barnaby Jones.
Good morning, monsters. Yes, I see we are having a late start today, and I apologize for that. I was trying to coordinate Eastern Standard Time with Central Pacific Standard Time and getting things organized with my guest today, who will be joining us momentarily, who thought the show started in another hour. But that's all right, because he will be here with us, and we are all set to go. So until he gets here, let's take care of our housekeeping for today. All right, we have the entire first season of On the Trail of Undiscovered Beasts is airing now on Paraflix. The entire first season is out. It covers Bigfoot sightings and reports and evidence in the state of Wisconsin. Paraflix is your home for all paranormal and cryptid and weird shows and podcasts and things of that nature. You can use promo code CAPS10, as you see at the bottom of the picture there, and you get 10% off your first 3 months of Paraflix. Guys, if you want to show your support for Wisconsin Caps, for our show that you're watching now, Monday Morning Monsters, or Whispers from the Dark, our other podcast, if you're not watching that, you should be, or listening to that, I guess I should say. You can go check out Whispers from the Dark as well. And we have all kinds of merchandise and stuff. You can get any of our logos and show your support on our website, wisconsincaps.com. Click on Shop Our Store. And you can click on any of the logos that you see there and get them on any of the items that you like t-shirts, hoodies, sweatshirts, magnets, stickers, mugs, tote bags, tank tops, and more. It's a great way to support our work, as well as show your support and get other people to know who we are. While you're online, go head over to our social media platforms. You can find us at Wisconsin Caps on Patreon, Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, and YouTube, or WI Caps on Instagram. You can also find special pages for Whispers from the Dark and Monday Morning Monsters, and there you can find all of our upcoming guests for all the shows that we have coming up. And coming up this spring is Ghost Lab Project. It is an exclusive project coming to our Patreon page. It is going to be what I like to call Ghost Hunters meets Mythbusters. So that's going to be fun. You can get some sneak peeks and stuff on our YouTube page, and then head over to Patreon for all of the Ghost Lab Project. Coming up this weekend, this is our first live event this year that we're going to be at for conventions and stuff. It is the inaugural Frogman Festival this Saturday at the Great Wolf Lodge Convention Center in Mason, Ohio. That's down by Cincinnati. There's a great lineup of speakers. You can go on Facebook or the website. I think you can go there and see all the speakers that are going to be coming up, or go back and listen to my episode with Jeff Craig from a couple weeks ago. He is the guy that's running it, and he can tell you all about the speakers and stuff. But we will be there this Saturday. And later on this month, or next month, we will be down in South Carolina at the Hagood Historical Mill site for the Haunting at the Hagood Mill Paracon. That's the end of March, 24th through the 26th. And then we head to Salt Forks, Ohio for the Bigfoot convention there. And back up to Wisconsin for the Hodag Heritage Festival in May. And then we head to Small Town Monsters Festival, Monster Fest in Canton, Ohio. And our guest here, who has now joined us, Eli, will be at this event as well as the rest of the Small Town Monsters crew. So hopefully, Eli, you can tell us all about this event as well today and some of the cool stuff that you got going on there. And then later on in June, we have June 9th and 10th, we are in Marinette, Menominee, Michigan at the Marinette, Menominee Bigfoot and Paranormal Convention. And then we go up to Sault Ste. Marie for MI Paracon, down to South Carolina in September, and then back in Wisconsin for Glen Beulah, Wisconsin, the Haunted Midwest Ghost Tours Presents Great Lakes Paranormal Conference. That's what we got coming up so far this year. So, my guest here on today's show has done a lot of stuff, and I'm pretty excited to talk to him and see what all he has worked on and all kinds of stuff with that. Are you ready, sir? Nod yes or no. All right, good. All right, guys, my guest, Eli Watson. Eli, welcome to the show.
Hi, how are you? Sorry about being late.
Oh, no, not a problem, man. So, you have quite a bio. You've been on a lot of shows and podcasts and done a lot of work. Can you kind of give us a little bit of history of who you are and what you've done and everything?
Yeah, so I started a podcast in 2018 called Cryptid Campfire, and I did that just because I was kind of into Bigfoot and some of that stuff, and that morphed into kind of me working with small town monsters now. And there's a lot of stuff in between there. I worked with Chasing Legends, Nash Hoover for a little bit, did Be on the Trail for a little while with Alexander Pedikov. And got to interview like a bunch of really cool people in Cryptid Campfire as well. So, and I'm just really grateful for some of the opportunities that came out of that. I definitely didn't plan on being part of this community at any point in my life, but it just happened. I'm here now. I'm here with you. And that means I made it.
Well, I appreciate that. I don't know if that means you made it or not, but that's awesome. I mean, I'm very happy to meet you and talk to you. I got to actually meet you this past November at CryptidCon, and that was a lot of fun. Obviously, with Cryptid Campfire, that's how I got introduced to you. And I started listening to Cryptid Campfire, and that's obviously another podcast. It's now done. You don't have it anymore, but you can still listen to all the episodes of it, and I highly recommend going out and checking that out. But then I had we were helping run a convention last year, the Marinette Menominee Bigfoot Convention, and Nash Hoover was going to be on at that convention, and so I had started looking into that and watching Chasing Legends, and I saw you on there. I'm like, now you're over here too.
Yeah.
So you get around. You got a lot of cool stuff. So awesome.
Yeah. Sorry, just for a moment there, someone told me once that it seems like anything big happening in cryptozoology I was involved in. So I don't know if that's true, but
well, you're here, so you've made it to the big time, as you said. So
yeah.
Yeah. So what got you into this to begin with? Like you said, obviously Cryptid Campfire is where you started, but what got you interested in the whole topic and stuff?
Yeah, I couldn't tell you, but I didn't have any sort of astounding encounters or anything like that. I watched Monster Quest growing up, and then finding Bigfoot. People are probably gonna hate me for this, but I actually used to make fun of Cliff and Bobo and stuff like that. Now they're friends. So, but and I actually hung out with Matt Moneymaker in October of last year, and that really blew me away because I think Matt's a very down to earth, real person. But sorry, I'm getting sidetracked here. But
no, not
yeah,
at all.
I was working at a movie theater at the time, and I was working this position called alcohol compliance monitor, and basically it was my job to make sure because our theater had a bar so people could take drinks into the theater, and it was my job to make sure no one was underage or whatever. And honestly, it was really a dumb position because everyone got their IDs checked at the bar. So like, why would I have to go check if I don't know? But anyways, yeah, it used to be two people, and maybe they changed it later to one alcohol compliance monitor. Maybe that's partially due to me because me and my buddy Alex would just talk about Bigfoot the whole time. And just radio check in. Yeah, everything's compliant. Every half hour, and I think they caught wind that we weren't doing our jobs and just talking about Bigfoot, so they they separated us. But I realized like it was a lot of fun to talk about Bigfoot and stuff, and I had never met someone that was also into Bigfoot. Growing up in Southern California, Bigfoot's not really a thing. So I just kind of casually mentioned to him one day. I said, "Hey, we should start a podcast." And I'll never forget, he just went, "Ha!" and walked away. And I was like, "Oh, okay, I guess he didn't like that one." And then a few days later, he comes back up and he says, "You know what? I've been thinking about what you said, and we should start a podcast." And I was like, "Oh, no way." And then we asked Jasmine, who was just someone uh, at the movie theater, and somehow me and her started talking about ghosts. And I said, "What do you think about Bigfoot?" And she's like, "Yeah, it seems cool." And so I just asked her to be part of it, and history was made. And then we started Cryptid Campfire, and so up until that point, it was kind of like and it still does this. It ebbs and flows. My interest in this ebbs and flows, and some points I would be really into it. Other parts I just wouldn't care too much about it. And 2018, I got really into it. And then when I started reading books and learning more about the subject, I started to really get into it and started to know the names of researchers and doing interviews and stuff like that. And I think that's my origin story.
Very interesting. Very cool. Very cool. So how did I assume you guys had Nash Hoover from Chasing Legends on the show, and that's kind of how you got looped in with that.
Yeah, I had Nash Hoover on, and then later I had Nash Hoover and Alexander Pedikov on at the same time. I think that episode's called Cryptid Palooza or something like that. And from there, I was in close touch with Nash for a while, and I also backed the Kickstarter for season 1. And I knew that they were going to Arizona to do the episode on the Mogollon monster. And for me, that Arizona is like a 6-hour drive, so I could get there. And I offered to just drive up there to meet up with them and hang out. So I did, and everything, I clicked with everybody, and Nash asked me to just be part of the show. So then we went to Lake Champlain in Vermont and New York, and then we went to Louisiana to look for the Rougarou. And yeah, that was a time. So
Very cool. Very cool. And then how did you get involved with Small Town Monsters now?
yeah, I think it was August of 2020. And so Alex was kind of my in for that. And Alex had done a series on the Trail of Champ with Small Town Monsters prior to doing Chasing Legends. And let's see, I'm trying to piece together the timeline here. So knowing, I figured that it would be okay for me to reach out to Seth. To me at the time, Seth was like this unattainable guest. He has some sort of celebrity in this field. So I wasn't comfortable.
Can you stop for one sec and kind of explain, because we didn't talk about this. What is Small Town Monsters? And obviously Seth Breedlove is in charge of it. I think maybe some people don't know who that is. So
yeah. Well, Small Town Monsters is a documentary production company, and they started with their first movie, Minerva Monster, I think in 2014 or 15. and they've been making Bigfoot documentaries and various cryptid documentaries ever since. So they've done some UFO documentaries, done some Dogman documentaries, did the documentary on Champ, and now we're branching out into different things. We're working on a Chupacabra movie, but if we're following the timeline, I'll get to that here soon. But so yeah, I had seen Terror in the Skies, which was a Thunderbird documentary, and I thought it was probably the greatest cryptid documentary I've ever seen. And because I mean, I grew up with Monster Quest, and not to say that Monster Quest is bad, it's good, but it's cheese. It's a cheesy show. And that's what I kind of believed was like that was it for Bigfoot and cryptid documentaries. And then I saw Terror in the Skies and was like, wow, who made this? And it was Seth Breedlove. And so I just didn't. Back then, I was more shy, more nervous to ask people to be on the show and whatnot. And when I became friends with Alex, I felt like I had an in that maybe my thought process was, oh, maybe Alex has brought me up in conversation before. Maybe he knows who I am. Seth is totally not like that. And so I asked Seth to be part of the show, and he agreed. And we had like a hour and a half long interview, and then we talked for like an hour after the fact. And he asked me to be part of a shoot the following year. He said he was going up to Washington State, and he thought it would be cool if I came along. And that was, again, August 2020. And then it was like March of 2021, and I hadn't talked to him pretty much since. And I was like, well, the opportunity has come and gone, and then out of the blue, I get a message, and he said, and it's from Seth, and he says, hey, are you still interested in going on this trip? And I said, yes. And so in April of 2021, we went up to Washington State, where he filmed On the Trail of Bigfoot, The Discovery, which is all about the Olympic project and the nest site that was found up there. And I did a Be on the Trail episode for the first time, and that is the episode Olympic Bigfoot, I think it's called. Yeah.
Cool. Very cool.
Yeah. I don't want to just keep rambling. I don't know if you have questions.
No, by all means. Well, we do have a comments section. I don't know if you can see it there. There's some comments over here, just some ramblings and stuff. But if anybody that is watching has any questions for Eli, feel free to drop them in there. So let's do this real quick. You've since starting Cryptid Campfire and Chasing Legends and stuff, we've mentioned some of the things you've gone and looked for, like Champ and the Rougarou and stuff like that. So I one of the reasons I wanted you on, besides just being a fascinating guy, like you've done a lot of different creatures besides, there's so many people out there researching Bigfoot, but there's not many people that I know of that are doing so many other things, which makes it really unique. So what are, fast forwarding to some of your more stuff that you've done with Small Town Monsters and stuff now, and even on your own, what are some other creatures and stuff that you've gone to investigate and research?
Right. So I guess the big one I'm starting to dig into now is Chupacabra, which I'm super stoked. I was talking to Aaron Deese of Paranormality magazine. I think that's what it's called. And he's actually the host of another movie I'm working on called The Dogman Triangle. And he and I were talking, and he blew my mind because he said, oh, congrats on the Chupacabra movie. And I said, what do you mean? He said, that was your dream project. And I was like, you're reading my mind. Like, how did you know that? And apparently I said that publicly before, but I'm super stoked to be working on the first Small Town Monsters Chupacabra project. I think Seth and I are co-directing that one, and we're trying to figure out the story of it, but it's probably going to be an overview of the whole phenomena from the 1990s in Puerto Rico to some of the Southwest sightings of the Texas Terror Hound, as it's called, or the Terror Dog, or whatever it is. It's but yeah, to me I get burnt out on similar on the same topic over and over and over again. And like that's what was beautiful about Cryptid Campfire, is that we could do a different topic every single week. And to me, that's what kept it fun for 215, 16 episodes. You know, I mean, it's a lot of episodes. I look back on it, I'm like, geez, we talked about everything, you know? But yeah, to me, it's a lot of fun to go from different topic to different topic, and also keep in line with the origins of cryptozoology, right? Bernard Heuvelmans, who wrote On the Track of Unknown Animals, I think that came out in 1956 or 55. It was a collection of reports and sightings of unknown animals all over the world. You know, you have a variety of things of ape men, obviously, you know, Bigfoot type sightings, sea monsters, lake monsters, saber-toothed tigers in South America. You know, like there's a bunch of really cool stuff. And I think not only does looking into these other subjects make you a more rounded person, but it makes you a more well-rounded researcher, because I think it opens up your eyes to really zoology. I mean, if cryptozoology is a subset of zoology, you got to study how the entire environment works, you know? And I think pursuing different biomes, like the chupacabra lives in the desert or it lives in the forests of Puerto Rico. I mean, those are two very different biomes, but learning about those biomes, how does that help me learn about how Sasquatch might live in the Pacific Northwest? To me, that's what's fascinating about it.
Definitely. You know, when you're looking at these things, you know, people think that they're just mythological beings or whatever, but when you get down to the evidence and the reports and stuff of these things, you have to take it into consideration when you're talking about cryptozoology, zoology, that if these things are real, there has to be a breeding population. They have
Mm,
to exist. They have to reproduce. There's more than one of them. And
mm,
as you said, when you're looking at the biomes and the where these things are, you need to find the biological niche that these things hold, what they're
mm.
eating, why they're being able to survive and stuff. And that's, you know, that's digging deeper into it than just the legend and lore of the creatures and the sightings themselves. And that's amazing. Yeah.
Mm. Yeah, I agree. And um, I don't know if you're familiar with my friend Carrick St. Laurent.
Mm.
Um, he's based out of New Hampshire. Alex, and I are pretty good friends, and so um, and Nash Hoover as well. So Carrick is a good researcher. He and I did a series together on his YouTube channel, Crash Course Cryptozoology, called the Man Wolf Files, and that's kind of looking into alleged dogman evidence, and unfortunately, a lot of it is fabricated. And but he and I have a lot of discussions about this, because it's about cryptozoology in general, because it you look at the earlier part of cryptozoology, you know, Bernard Heuvelmans and, you know, Ivan Sanderson to an extent, and, you know, getting into the Four Horsemen, it was all kind of a zoological grounded approach. And the ideas that they express in their books and in their writings are, it just seems like the people, I go out in the field and I meet people who have never read these books, and they're like, "Oh yeah, Sasquatch, you know, lives in caves." And it's like, "Yeah, John Green was writing about that in the 1960s. Like, this is
Mm.
not new information." You know?
Mm.
And I think it's important to know that stuff so we can build off of it instead of just rediscovering the same things. You know, and not only that, but everyone wants to be collectors of stories, but I think we need to do an analysis of the data as well. That's something John Green was trying to do. He was comparing, you know, in different reports, you know, the sizes, and then he would average out the sizes and get an average height of what a Bigfoot is, you know, average weight, you know, average foot length, you know, and things like that. I think a lot of that should be done. You know, it's a lot of work and it's a thankless
Mhm.
job, but I think it's important. Hmm.
Absolutely. As you were talking about the older books and stuff like that, it seems like I've read some of those older texts and that it almost feels like they knew more about this stuff back then.
Mm,
There was more, like you read some of the old like documentation of like Yetis and stuff, and when you read these books, it's not a question of if they exist. It's these things exist. This is where they live. We haven't got one, but we've heard these stories. We've got evidence and that, and it goes into all this detail about yeah, they're out there. And now today
mm,
we've backpedaled so hard on that, going, well, maybe they exist. And
mhm.
why do you think that is? Do people just not, as you said, know these books exist? Or like why isn't that the same theory on these creatures as it was?
Yeah, I think it's a combination of multiple factors. One is the scarcity of the books. I mean,
Mm,
you can't walk into Barnes and Noble and get On the Track of Unknown Animals. I don't even think it's in print anymore. Lauren Coleman a few years ago tried to do a reprinting series of reprinting old books. I know he did Abominable Snowman, Legend Come to Life by Ivan Sanderson. That one I think is like 12, $13 on Amazon. But I mean, these books are hard to come by, and as a result, they're expensive. I pride myself on my collection of first editions, but that did not come at a cheap price. So,
mhm.
and so I think there's that, but also, I don't know if people are that interested in reading anymore.
We have a
Yeah.
comment here. I think a lot of people lost trust in humanity, thus doubting stories and questioning authenticity. There's so much talk about fake news and just all these hoaxes and people just wanting attention and all the AI now as well. Do you
Mm,
think that that has a lot to do with the just lack of belief in this stuff?
could be. And especially too, like things about Ivan Sanderson. Ivan Sanderson, fell for that hoax about the giant penguin in Florida or whatever. And I think those things. I mean, that I still see that circulating on Instagram sometimes. Is like, oh, Sanderson, what a joke. It's like because he fell for one hoax. Or the
Hmm.
the Minnesota Iceman being. I mean, I don't know how you feel about it, but most likely a hoax. And that fooled Bernard Hoovelmans and Sanderson. So I think things like that unfortunately discredit a lot of the early stuff and discredit it in the minds of general people and because finding that line between what's true and what was hoaxed and what they fell for is hard to do. And so I think it's easier to just be like, well, it's all fake. You know, there's no point in going back and reading any of that stuff because it's all just they were all hoaxed.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely. Well, so a lot of we've talked on this show. I mean, obviously about like how you know Bigfoot's gone kind of in my mind beyond the point of is it real or is it not? I mean, it's out there. There's enough
mm,
evidence behind it to the point where you have guys like Cliff Brockman that are being able to identify specific individuals by the data set of footprints. Over time, he's able to see that this same animal has been in the area based on the size, the differential of the tracks and stuff like that. And I mean, you can get
mhm.
into all the legend meets science stuff of Patty and that, but what I would like to know though is how do you feel about some of the other ones? Like you said that you've done some work with the dog man.
Mhm.
What is your thoughts on that? Do you think that that is actually a flesh and blood creature? Do you think that there's enough evidence and stuff backing the existence of that?
Uh, um, so Dogman, I I've been pretty staunch on this, and even going back to the Cryptid Campfire days, is I think it's entirely a paranormal thing, and people will be like, "Oh, well, there's sightings of it eating roadkill," and I mean,
Mhm.
and sometimes it physically leaves traces behind, scratches on cars, footprints, etc. But just because something's paranormal doesn't mean it can't have a flesh and blood component to it. Not that I'm saying that Dogman goes in and out of dimensions. That's not what I'm saying. But if you look into ghosts and possessions and stuff like that, I mean, ghosts can leave physical traces behind. They can pull people out of beds, and no, that's not a common thing. But neither is Dogman. Dogman's not very common. So, I'm pretty much in the camp of a werewolf. Dogman itself isn't real, and it's more of a werewolf. And I don't think it has anything to do with the full moon. I think it has everything to do with people, certain individuals making pacts or doing deals with various entities, and they're granted these powers, or they cursed with this to turn into this creature at night or on different nights. I mean, I think there's a lot of truth in things like the Rougarou legend and the Beast of Jevadan and stuff like that. And so I don't think you can go outside and, like everything we've been talking about, the zoological aspects, it doesn't apply to Dogman. I don't think there's a breeding population of these things. I don't even think you could just go out into the woods and stumble upon them, as if it's like a Bigfoot or something. I think you have to be in the right place at the right time to come across these things. So
interesting.
Yeah.
All right, guys, we have to take a quick break here. And if you guys have any questions for Eli, feel free to throw them in the comments section on whatever social media platform that you're viewing on, and we will get to them right after the break here. And we'll be right back after this.
The Body Code is a revolutionary method of energetic healing developed by Dr. Bradley Nelson, which allows us to quickly and easily identify specific imbalances that seem to underline chronic ill health, acute and chronic pain, and discomfort, dysfunction, and stress. Ellie energetically connects with the subconscious of the client. Psychic medium Eli Watson is a medical intuitive and energy healer, and a certified body code practitioner. She identifies and clears energetic imbalances within the body and energy field. Contact Ellie at the website below, and Ellie can work remotely from a distance, by phone, online, video chat. There's no need to travel to an office. Remember, the Body Code is safe for humans and animals. Contact Ellie today.
All right, guys, we are back here on Monday Morning Monsters with my guest, Eli Watson. He is from Small Town Monsters and Cryptid Campfire and all kinds of other stuff, and traveled across the United States in search of many of these myths, legends, and unknown creatures. We have a couple questions over here. First of all, do you know anything about Butch Witkowski's research?
I'm vaguely familiar. I know his name, but I couldn't tell you much about him. I think he's a UFO researcher. Yeah.
I do not know. I do not know who he is, but so there's the answer to that. If you have a question, you can go ahead and ask that, but it doesn't look like either one of us are familiar with that. And Lee would like to know, have you heard of Old Green Eyes? And it looks like Green Eyes is from the battlefield in Georgia.
I don't know. I've never heard of that, so I'm sorry.
Okay. 200 and some episodes of Cryptid Campfires, and you never covered Old Green Eyes.
I guess not.
All right, here we go. Here's our follow-up here. Butch determined that the Dogman was a bipedal canine Oh, and bipedal canine were two different species based on characteristics, anatomy, and behavior. Have you ever looked into his research on lichen loop in PA?
Uh, no, I haven't. As I kind of said earlier, I'm not too familiar with Butch Wachowski, so
Mhm.
I didn't know he had done any research in the Dogman. I'll look
Hmm.
into it though. That sounds interesting.
Yeah, same for me. I've actually never heard of him in any aspect, so um, definitely. I love doing the show because you get to meet new people and you get to talk about stuff and so yeah, I'll definitely have to check that out as well. Uh,
Yeah.
before we go before we go on with anything else here, I wonder if you could give a talk about this. So I see you're going to be here. Obviously, this is upcoming here in June, the Small
Oh,
Town Monsters Monster Festival. So this is put on by Seth Breedlove and the Small Town Monsters. Do you have anything you'd like to talk about this or promote?
yeah. I'm super looking forward to Monster Fest. I mean, it's June 3rd and 4th, or June 2nd and 3rd. Sorry, so I've been corrected. So June 2nd and 3rd, and it's gonna be downtown Canton, Ohio. And I'm just super stoked because I've never really seen a lineup like this before. I mean, you have Cliff, you have Lauren Coleman, Jim Harold, Stan Gordon, um, Justin Chernopesky's going to be there. I mean, it's pretty
Oops.
Lyle Blackburn. Yeah, see, every time I look at it, I feel like I see someone new, and I'm
Hmm.
pretty stoked about. I mean, some of these people I've never even met before. I mean, Stan Gordon I've
Hmm.
never met. Richard Haddam I've never met. I believe he's the writer of Mothman Prophecies, the movie. I mean, and I'm like really looking forward to being there, and I hope it's a wild, wild event. um,
Yeah, as you said, I haven't met a lot of these guys either. I have had the pleasure of meeting Lauren Coleman, and I know
mm,
that he isn't doing a lot of events anymore. So I'm really looking forward to seeing him again at this event. And Lyle Blackburn, I actually haven't met, so I think this will be the first time that I actually get to meet him. So
yeah, Lyle's a great dude, and I've met Lauren twice now, and yeah, it's. I mean, seriously, he isn't going to a lot of events anymore. I think this
mhm.
might be one of the only ones he's going to in 2023. So, I mean, if you want to meet Lauren Coleman, I would suggest you come.
He's an awesome guy, very funny, very entertaining, and definitely a unique sense of humor and stuff with that guy.
Hmm.
Um, all right, over here, Butch was a cryptozoologist and a ufologist.
That's
I'm
right.
assuming
I think he
that's going back
passed
to that.
away. He passed
Okay.
away not too long ago, I think.
All right.
Oh, Leigh Warner. It's phonetically pronounced Chickamauga.
Hmm.
Do you see that comment?
Oh
Chick.
yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, I was just gonna bring that one up. So yeah, there we go. Perfect.
Old
Thank
green
you.
eyes. I'll have to look into that. Is that like a Bigfoot, or I don't know
I've
what that
never heard
is.
of it. Down in Georgia. I don't know.
I've been to Georgia. I interviewed Dave Bacara at the Expedition Bigfoot Museum down there.
Okay.
So, and there was a
Cool.
Beyond the Trail episode about that. We got rained out pretty much. It was pretty rough. It was a rough like 3 days of just constant rain.
Yeah, I that's gotta be something. I mean, like, when you guys go out, you do you have to get permission where you're filming, like the big shows and stuff do, or do you just kinda wing it?
For the most part, we tried to avoid any areas that we need permissions for.
Right.
So we
Gotcha.
just kind of try to fly in under the radar, like
Yeah.
things like the YouTube content, like Beyond the Trail and my new series, Mysteries and Monsters. We can kind of just float by with, yeah, we're just vloggers, we're YouTube
Mhm.
vloggers, and most people are like, okay, whatever. So I don't know how long that kind of excuse is going to last with the way YouTube content's going, though. You
Yeah.
know?
Yeah. Well, where I was going with that was like, obviously, luckily with all the stuff that we've done with caps with our filming and that, we haven't had any big expeditions or anything out of state that got messed up by rain. But I mean, with small town monsters and stuff, you guys do a lot more. You have a bigger production in that, and
Mm.
that's got to be rough. I mean, I listened to Bigfoot and Beyond with Cliff and Bobo and stuff, and they talk about certain areas that they get to, and it's freezing weather and snow, and the producers thought it was a good idea to research there because it was cheaper to do it this time of year.
Yeah, we've done some of that before. Mostly on Beyond the Trail is where some of the roughest adventures have come into. And that's part of what that show is about, right? Is being beyond the trail, being in these remote areas, and sometimes the weather doesn't cooperate. I mean,
Hmm.
we went from the Everglades in Florida all the way up to northern Georgia on a single trip. It was 3 weeks long. And then when we got to Georgia, that was the last leg of the trip. We're all tired, we're all exhausted, and then it just starts pouring rain for 3 days straight. So that didn't do anything for our moods or our desire to film, but that's how it goes. Not to mention that year it was like a record cold winter in Florida. We went in January because we're thinking Florida is usually hot. And so we're going to go in January where it's cooler. And it turns out it was really cold. So it got down to like 25 degrees at night. And we're like, what is happening? None of us are prepared for that kind of weather. We're thinking 60s, 70s, like Florida in the winter. But nah, it was really cold.
Well, that's like last year at Cryptid Con. We were down there, and that's Lexington, Kentucky, and it's freezing. It was almost colder down in Lexington, Kentucky, than it was back up here in Wisconsin.
Right.
And it was
That's
snowing
insane.
and crappy down there. And I'm like, why? What is with this? Um,
Oh, speaking, I wanted to bring this up. You ran into a buddy of mine just
a
recently,
few.
Levi Matchevek.
Yep.
Yeah, yeah. What brought you guys together?
Well, he's on Whispers from the Dark. My other podcast today comes out, and you
Oh,
can hear all about Levi and stuff. Levi, I got in touch with from Emily Fleur.
oh, no kidding. Okay, yeah.
We pre-taped
Emily's a
an
gr-
episode of Emily from when I come back from South Carolina. So
oh,
the end of March, her Monday Morning Monsters episode is going to air, and then that's where I got
oh,
Levi. And I actually did an episode with somebody else you might know for 2 weeks from now, Kevin Lestarge.
Kevin. Kevin Lestarge. I'm not familiar. I don't think so.
Okay, well
Maybe if I saw his face.
he's buddies with Levi, so I don't
Oh,
know.
okay.
But that's where I got him from.
Maybe I
So
don't know.
he'll
Oh,
be on
cool.
Whispers from the Dark next week. So yeah,
Oh, okay, cool, cool.
yeah. We have a
Um,
question over here. What is your favorite creature lore?
that is going to be the Yeti. I think the Yeti is one of my all-time favorite. I think there's a lot of cool rabbit holes with the Yeti that you can get lost into, from the Nepali, Tibetan, ancient lore about what the Yeti might be to even the early reports. There's like one report where the Yeti is holding a bow and arrow, yeah, which is super wild. The Shipton tracks, the Eric Shipton tracks that he found in the 1930s or 40s, like the photographed ones, the super bizarre, and then you find out that people like Ivan Sanderson and Lauren Coleman has copies of these of uh they didn't cast the footprints in the snow because it was snow, it would have fell apart, but they've made somehow they like reverse engineered the footprint and made plaster casts like based on what the photographs look like, and Lauren Coleman has those in his
Hmm.
cryptozoology museum in Maine. So it's
Hmm.
super bizarre, but like things like that are super interesting to me. And um Or like Peter Byrne was super into the Yeti for a long time, and now he actually thinks they might be extinct. I don't know. The Peng Boche hand is a super interesting tale that involves Jimmy Stewart smuggling a Yeti finger through his wife's undergarments. It just what a story, you know.
Mhm.
So
They also want to know what's mine, and I gotta go with the chupacabra. That's where I started. I did research and stuff on that. I wrote a research paper on it back in elementary school, back in the
whoa,
'90s and stuff. So yeah, that was my first big delve into cryptozoology was El Chupacabra. So yeah,
oh wow, that's
uh,
awesome.
I wish I still had a copy of it. I really don't wish that, but I wish I did. And email is wisconsincaps@gmail.com. Really easy. So if you want to send
Yeah.
us, she was going to send us information on old green eyes. So
Okay, cool.
I'll forward that on to you as well, Eli, if you would like.
Thanks.
Did you get a
Did you
Did
get
you
an
get an
A?
A?
Yeah, I want to
I
know.
don't remember. I mean, that was I don't want to say that was a long time ago. But yeah, I don't remember what I got on it, but I remember doing it. So back to the chupacabra. As I was, we got kind of full circle here. I was wondering, with the Puerto Rico stuff, have you heard recently? I saw a bunch of reports now coming out of Puerto Rico of people seeing gargoyles.
Really? I haven't
Yeah,
heard this.
there's
Whoa.
if you remind me, I'll have to send you the link for that. It's on. I'm pretty sure if you go on our Caps group chat page on Facebook, I think I posted it there a couple months ago or whatever. But I can try and find it for you. But there's a bunch of farmers on Puerto Rico that have been seeing what they describe as gargoyles, either
Whoa.
flying or sitting different places on rooftops, in yards and stuff. And I was wondering, if this is like the evolution or the next stage to the whole chupacabra legend. As I'm sure you're well aware, when you go to different places around the country and stuff, you have the Bigfoot, and then you have Sasquatch, you have skunk ape, you have uh, Momo, you have all these different names of people seeing different things, and it all boils down to the same thing. So when you're looking into the chupacabras down in Mexico, is it possible that these things have just been given a new name now? That they always are the same thing, and now people are just seeing and describing them different or something. So
Right. That's what's interesting about the chupacabra is um, the way we described it on Cryptid Campfire is that it's kind of a catch-all term. The name chupacabra has been applied to multiple different things. Obviously, the first reports out of Puerto Rico involve like a bipedal reptilian-looking creature. And then it came over to the United States, and now it's like a hairless dog. But the commonality between the two was animals being found drained of blood. You know, um, and whether these gargoyle-like creatures are also being chupacabra or if they actually are, I don't know. Like that's what makes the chupacabra so hard to look into is like what are
mhm,
you looking for? We know the signature trademark, but we don't have a general consensus on what it looks like, you know?
mhm,
So I think it's possible. I mean, if these things, there's a couple reports of chupacabra with wings, so maybe these gargoyle-like
yeah,
creatures have something to do with chupacabra. Maybe in some ways they're more of a chupacabra than these hairless dogs in Texas and stuff.
mhm.
So
Yeah, I got the pleasure of hanging out with Ken Gerhardt, and I asked him what his thoughts were on the chupacabra because I know he's done a lot of work down there, researching it. And, he's on the ground there, and he said that mainly like the people of Mexico and stuff down there have come to the consensus that anything that goes bump in the night is El Chupacabra. So if
mm,
you have ghost or paranormal activity in your house, it's the chupacabra. If something's killing your animals, it's the chupacabra, and so on and so forth. And I mean that's it's just the general name they've given to these things. And you see that a lot in different cultures and stuff. I can't think of the name of it, but over in Japan and stuff, they have one name that kind of encompasses all of their ghosts and boogeyman and stuff. And I can't think of the name for that, but you get what I mean.
Right. That kind of bums me out, actually, because that really makes it hard to define what a chupacabra is, right? It's like, well, if you're applying it to everything, you know, then almost anything is a chupacabra. It's I don't know. That's really interesting, though. I'm glad you told me that. That's super. We actually interviewed Ken Gerhard for this chupacabra movie, so that I wasn't there for that, but I'll be there for the rest of the filming of the movie. We interviewed Ken Gerhard for the Dogman Triangle movie that's coming up. That should be out sometime during summer, but that's about Dogman sightings in Texas, and so they decided to interview him about chupacabra at the same time. So I wasn't present for that, but yeah.
I always get this wrong. It's either John Green or John Keel in one of their books. They write about over in Europe that there was a rash of sightings and killings that are almost identical to what's reported down in Puerto Rico for the chupacabra. And this was back, pre 1800s. I can't remember exactly the period, but it was way back over there. But it's the exact same mantra, the same, like, a bunch of chickens found dead with puncture wounds, a bunch of goats found dead, and there was this whole rash of killings over there that met the same MO as the chupacabra. I thought that was always interesting. And when you hear about the chupacabra and stuff, people only associate it with Mexico and that. But as I said earlier, with all these things, you have them all over the world. They're just called different things and sightings and stuff. So,
right, that's really interesting. I haven't heard of that, but in Puerto Rico itself, right, like the term chupacabra was coined in 1995. But 20 years prior, you have the Vampire of Mocha in 1975. And that was a rash of killings, livestock killings. They're found drained of blood with puncture wounds, and that's a vampire, classic vampire, and that's really interesting. You have to wonder if maybe that was a chupacabra, but like you said, I mean, they're just called different things. I mean, as far as I know, the name chupacabra was kind of invented as a joke. I mean, the goat sucker, like that is a jokey term, but it doesn't mean that what's happening isn't real. There's a cat. I don't know.
I know. The howling banshee in the background there.
Yeah, I know, right? That's Idris the cat. So
awesome.
But,
awesome. Well, man, we are almost out of time here. If anybody has any other questions for Eli before we wrap up, make sure you get them in the comments, and we will try to cover them. Lee has a poem over here in the comments and on YouTube about a werewolf.
I think that's Wolfman. That's from the Wolfman Universal horror movie.
He may still turn into a werewolf when the wolfbane blooms and the harvest moon is full and bright. Here's a question for you.
411.
Yeah, what do you think of the missing 411 cases?
I don't know, man. Some of them I believe could be Bigfoot, for sure. I'll get into that just a little bit, but people seem to think that Bigfoot's either, like the forest guardian or this like man killing machine. And I think it's more along the lines of a flesh and blood, like a gorilla. Like a gorilla has the capacity to kill a human being, and they certainly have, but that isn't their go-to. They don't see a person and just like, yeah, I'm going to slam this guy into a tree. Yeah. But if provoked, I think gorillas are territorial, and so are Bigfoot, territorial creatures, and they'll break you if they want to. So some of them are Bigfoot. UFOs probably have a lot to do with it too. I'm not sure, and that's not saying much either. Like, I don't know what UFOs are. So,
With every
but
race,
yeah,
some go rogue. Yeah.
Dominic Toretto just went rogue.
Mhm.
That's a Fast and Furious reference, but, but so
Definitely. No, I 100% agree. I mean, with any animal, any species, you're going to have good ones and bad ones. And, there's, the nicest dog, you poke him in his eye, he's going to bite you. It's just animal nature. It's
hmm
self-preservation. And, these
hmm
creatures just want to be out in the woods and left alone. And you start shooting at them or shooting at their food. And, that's why, a lot of these cases that we have where people have survived to tell the story, like Ape Canyon and stuff, they didn't start throwing rocks at these people or chasing hunters around the woods and stuff until they were shot at by the
yeah,
people out in the woods. It's not like they were
yeah,
just walking through the woods and Bigfoot started, chucking boulders at them and chasing them around. They shot first, and
hmm
so
hmm
definitely.
you're right. I
So
agree. So
So you got a lot of stuff. You got a lot of stuff going on. You're going to be at Small Town Monsters Festival here in June coming up again. Want to remind everybody that it looks like a great lineup. Great people are going to be there. Definitely Lauren Coleman, Cliff, Eli, Alexander Petikoff is also going to be on our show coming up here in a couple weeks. He is going to be on April 3rd, if you want to hear from Alexander Petikoff, is going to be on
nice.
this show right here on April 3rd. So, but yeah, Eli, where else can people get a hold of you? What do you got going on? What do you want people to know about? Where can they find you or ask you questions and stuff?
Yeah, so I guess the biggest thing I have going on right now is a YouTube series on the Small Town Monsters YouTube channel, which is called Mysteries and Monsters. And we didn't even get to that. Wow.
Oh, I'm sorry. Well,
no,
here's your
it's no,
chance.
it's
Tell us all about it.
no, I know. I totally blanked on it. That's wild. That's oh, boy. But yeah, wow, I really blanked on that. Anyways, so Mysteries and Monsters is a series I'm kind of heading up, so I'm the host of it. And it follows me as I kind of explore different phenomena around the country. So episode 1 is called Return to Bigfoot Mountain, which is all about Bigfoot in the Mount Hood area. And that's a sequel to a Beyond the Trail episode that I did. And then this next one is going to be called The Mountain of God UFO Cult, which is exactly what it sounds. I'm looking into a UFO cult in Southern California. So I'm pretty stoked to be exploring like wildly different phenomena. And I really hope that the audience enjoys it as much as I am. So that the next episode comes out in about 2 weeks. So keep an eye out for that. That'll be on the Small Town Monsters YouTube channel. If you want to, I'm on Instagram. Feel free to direct message me there. That's at the Eli Watson. Um, but yeah, that's about what I got going on these days. There's always the possibility of a Cryptid Campfire return episode, maybe 2 or 3 of those. I don't know, but we'll see.
Very cool. Very
Yeah.
cool. I've had 7 perfect rings appear in my yard overnight. Also had a tree bent over. I could send you pictures. I have no clue what they are. So if you want to send them to me, wisconsincaps@gmail.com. And Eli, if you'd like to see them, where can people send them?
Yeah,
Wait till you
that's
take a drink.
yeah, I know. That is going to be Eli at smalltownmonsters.com.
Awesome. Yeah. I know I'd love to see them. Eli, if you want to see them too, send them over to us and we'll take a look and let you know what we think or, send us some more information.
Yeah.
Very cool. What else was I going to tell you? Can't think of it. Lost it. It's gone. All right.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, so definitely Small Town Monsters seems like the majority of where you got stuff coming out on their YouTube channel. So go
Yes,
check
sir.
that out. And I don't have email. I can Facebook. Sure. Same thing. Wisconsin Caps or Cryptids, Anomalies, and the Paranormal Society. And you can send them to me via message on there. And Eli, what's your you have Facebook that people can get a hold of you on?
Yeah, I have a Facebook page that's the Eli Watson. So it's a picture of me.
Awesome. Very good.
It's pretty easy. So,
Perfect. Yep. So either if you don't have email, send them over to Facebook. Just search Cryptids, Anomalies, Paranormal Society, Wisconsin Caps, or just go to our website, wisconsincaps.com, and all of our social media links are on there as well. You can find us. So. Perfect.
Well, this has been a lot of fun. So definitely. I'm glad we could talk. I know it's been a while since CryptidCon, but
absolutely looking forward to seeing you and all your guys from Small Town Monsters in June. Want to remind everybody on that. Coming up June 3rd, 2nd and 3rd in Canton, Ohio. We'll all be down there. So if you guys can make it out. All right, Eli. So thank you so much for being on. I appreciate all your hard work. Keep it up, man. And I look forward to seeing you out there sometime.
Thanks, man. It'll happen sooner rather than later.
All right. I will make sure I forward any of my stuff that I get as well to you if you don't get a chance to get it. So
please, thank you.
Green eyes.
Yes, that's curious. Huh.
Awesome. Good luck on the Chupacabra. Do me proud, man.
Thanks. Will do.
All right. We'll talk to you later. Thanks for being on.
Bye.
All right, guys, that's our show for this week. Coming up next week, I think we have Shane Corson from the Olympia Project in Upper Washington State there. He will be talking about his work with the Nest Project up there and the nests that they found. So join us next week here on Monday Morning Monsters for Shane Corson. And that wraps up our show for this week. So until next time, guys. We have one more comment. Bye. What's your YouTube channel again? It is Small Town Monsters. Correct, Eli? Yeah, Small Town Monsters. So there you go. Until next time, guys. Oh, now I got to pull this back up. We'll see you out there.
The truth is here and now on WLTK-DB Talk Radio at WLTK-DB.com.